Always great to get Neil Balme back in what was his old regular spot. Richmond superstar has been good enough to join us on the day that Richmond's announced that they have 100,000 members again this season for the fifth year in a row. So great news there for Richmond fans and the Richmond Footy Club in general. The Tigers host Fremantle at Marvel Stadium on Friday night after a couple of weeks in the spotlight. Welcome to you, Balme. Great to have you on.
Oh, thanks, mate. It's wonderful to be able to get that 100,000 again. We're really so appreciative of all our members, and we're not quite delivering the goods for them at the minute, but we think we're good enough, and the relationship between the players and the coaches is very strong. The communication is very strong, so I'll be surprised if we don't get them up over the next half a dozen weeks and give ourselves a decent chance. But let's hope we do that. It's no good at having 100,000 members if you can't win enough games. They just get angry with us, which is fair enough too.
Yeah, how you been coping with the last couple of weeks? What has gone wrong the last couple of weeks?
We just haven't quite finished. We've had our opportunities, and even the numbers in the games, show that we're winning the right things. We're getting the ball into the forward line enough. We're having enough shots a goal. Certainly last week, we just didn't finish. So that's that interesting. I mean, you've played the game. You know that interesting balance between helping each other and working together, and not worrying. You're not just focusing on the outcome, but actually doing what you have to do. Looking forward to taking the responsibility when the ball comes to you. You take the catch or you kick the goal, and I think that's the little thing that we're missing. We're not quite finishing. I think our system works pretty well. The players are playing okay. We're just not. That edge is not quite there, so hopefully we'll pick it up. And it's going to be a challenge this week because the team we're playing is a pretty bloody good team. Fortunately, they have to travel across the players, which gives us a minor advantage. But I don't think we're that far away. But as you know, I'm one of the most optimistic people in the world. I think we're going to get up every week. But we're just not quite doing it. But the players certainly want to do it. The coaches are coaching the right way. So I'd be surprised if we don't see a bit of a turnaround.
Have a couple of things surprised you? I don't want to single out one player, but, Grimes not staying with Zerha, for an example. That's not something that he would normally, a mistake he wouldn't normally make. Made one the week before as well, late in the game.
Yeah, that's true. And Zerha is such an explosive player. But when you look at the pictures of it, it shows that the other blokes weren't quite doing their job in terms of filling the gaps as well, which would have helped Grimes here. It looks like it's all Grimes' responsibility, and to some degree it is, because you've got to be responsible for your man. But if we'd have had the people, like, say, Nick or someone standing in the right place, well, certainly the last one he wouldn't have been able to get a hold of and kick, or certainly would have been put under more pressure. So that's what we're trying to say is do your job, just play your role, do the things you know are right, and the game will work for us, and it'll make it a lot easier for all of us to do our jobs better. And you're not exposing the individual like Grimes is exposed a bit by this happening. So I think they get it. I think they understand how it all works together, and the system does work pretty well. So, again, I am optimistic, but I think they know the answers. The answers are in the room. It's just a matter of delivering.
And what was Jake Art's thinking? Why did he decide to play on? Was he just unlucky? He didn't realise the player was there, or did he not know how much time left in the game? What went through his mind?
Oh, well, he's under pressure. It's like when you're under pressure, sometimes you don't make the right decision. But, he should have held up and had a shot for goal, but he didn't. And if he had been able to play on and get around him and kick a goal, we would have said what a smart player he was. But That's not quite the way it worked. But, the reality is I think they all know now, if it's that time of the game and we're half a goal in front and you mark the ball within kicking distance, guess what? You're stopping and having a shot. I don't think that'll happen again. But and it's a bit hard on him, though, because we made so many other mistakes during the game that it cost us just as much as that. But he's the one who's sort of exposed a bit, which is a little bit unkind. But having said that, it's a tough game and you've got to be able to make the right decisions.
So the good news is you're still eighth. You're still in the eighth. And you've got your destiny in your own hands.
Well, that is the good news. We're still in the position where, as you said, we can make it happen if we want to make it happen. Having said that, we're playing a good team this week, so we've got to be at our best to win the game. But that's what it always should be. But our destiny is in our own hands. And again, unless we're kidding ourselves, we think our best is good enough to challenge everyone. Even we played Geelong the other day, who are playing better than anyone else, and we really were a genuine chance of contesting the game with them. So I think we believe in our game. We think it's good enough. It's just a matter of making sure that we take our chances.
And any other in-game tinkerings that you think you need to do, Neil? Is there something in your pressure rating that's not quite right? Is your centre square 4 makeup something you can tinker with? No, Dustin Martin doesn't help. No, Tom Lynch doesn't help. But are there other things you can tinker with?
Oh, look, we can say that, Tom and Dustin are two of our most important players. We haven't got them, but that's fair enough. But everyone doesn't have all their best players, so it's really the system that's got to work it. So we can't use that as, it's a reality, but it's not an excuse. But, it's more the way Damien and the coaches look at it is just, we know what we're doing. Let's go back to this. What did we do wrong? We weren't in the right place. We weren't thinking the right way. We weren't defending as well as we should. We missed these tackles. All that simple little stuff. So it's just a matter of focusing on what needs to be done right now. It's not, we'll change our centre-bound setup a little bit at different times for different players, et cetera, and our stoppage setup and a few other things. But that's all based on who you're playing week after week. But essentially, we think our system's pretty right. It's just a matter of blokes delivering and doing their little bit.
Would you like a hostile crowd? Marvel Stadium on Friday night. Apparently, you guys love playing at Marvel, I'm told.
I'm not sure that we love it that much, but it's better than not playing at all.
Do you think you could get a bigger crowd at Marvel? Why do you think fans don't go as often to Marvel as they could go?
I think people are just used to going different places, and I suppose we're blessed in that most of our important games at the MCG, and that is a pretty welcoming place to go. I actually quite like Marvel myself, but that's only me. I've probably played at some crappy games in the good old days. We all remember it. I think Marvel's very good, but maybe it's a bit harder to get there. I'm not sure, or maybe people are not quite driven enough to do it. I hope they do. I think if as many of our 100,000 as can come to Marvel and give us the support and backup this week, we'll certainly appreciate it, I assure you.
When will Dustin Martin, when will Tom Lynch be back?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that.
So when will Dusty be back? When will Tom Lynch be back?
Oh, we expect them both back next week, but strange things can happen. But we're pretty sure they will be okay for next week.
And how much do you sort of get involved in the whole contract situation, Neil? When guys are out of contract, is that a distraction, do you think, for those guys? Liam Baker's been one we've talked about a bit. Do you get in their ear? Do you leave them alone? Do you play it differently with different people?
Oh, you just encourage them to take their chances. There's sometimes a move's a good idea, but with players, not all the time. Certainly, I don't think there's any chance that Liam would go. But if I were a West Australian team, I'd be working my ass off to try, if you'll pardon the crude expression, to try and get him back. So you understand how that works. But no, I think he's pretty happy with what he's doing. We've given him some great opportunity to become a good player. So we just talk the positive story the whole time and. You keep them if they want to stay. If they want to go, you've also got to take into account sometimes the needs of the individual. Like, we had Callum Coleman-Jones play against us last weekend, and we were keen to keep him, obviously. But he, as an individual, thought he's not going to get chances with us, so he needed to go somewhere. So you do have to listen to that a little bit as well. So you can't keep them all, sadly. You,
across this whole head-high interpretation, alteration or clarification off the back of a couple of incidents that we've had in recent times with players of other clubs whose names can remain nameless?
I think it's terrific that the AFL have stepped in to help because, our first thing is to protect players and look after them, which we do. But it looks like some players and some teams are trying to, pinch a few extra high free kicks by ducking into them. And I don't think that's the right thing. We don't think that's the right thing to do. We certainly don't encourage our blokes to do that. No, I think it's great that the AFL have looked at it. I think it'll be the right outcome. I don't think there'll be any silly decisions made on it. But players know that just play properly and you'll be looked after. And if you try and sneak up on them and cheat a free kick, well, you'll get one against you. And I think that's wonderful the way they've looked at it personally. It's a challenge for the umpires, I know, but I think it's the right thing to have done.
Should they have done it earlier? Is there a chance that they could have done this, a couple of years ago?
Oh, well, there's always, I suppose, but don't worry about that. It's just great they've done it now, I think.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Damien Hardwick himself, he seems to still be fairly positive about what can be achieved this year.
Oh, yes. He gets more frustrated than any of us, of course, because he can see how good we can be and how close we are. But it's good because by the time he gets in front of the players, he takes a breath and says, look, what you did was not good enough, but I know we can and focus on it and work on the system. And he's very, very, very encouraging. He doesn't, he still recognises what we do well and what we don't, but he's very encouraging. So, no, he believes in the guys for sure.
And the long-term prospects of the club, Neil, just a quick one before I let you go. You mentioned members, 100,000 members, 5 years in a row. I'm not a big fan of the drop out to the draft and, recover through getting draft picks by being, last, second, last. Do you think there is a chance that in a decent club in a current environment can actually stay relatively high on the ladder if they get it right?
Well, that's what we're trying to do. So watch this space, because you don't want to go back to struggling. You need to just try and build up and then rebuild and still get the young kids in. But we've got a really good handful of young kids. A few of them haven't even played yet that we think can make a big difference going forward. So we think we're as strongly set up as anyone in that position. So watch this space. I think it'll happen for us.
Great to have you, Neil. Always good to be able to pick your brain. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, mate. Good.
Neil Balme having a chat with a senior Richmond club advisor, I think is the official title, but legend, guru, whatever you want to call him.